Okay, so 7 minutes, but there is no chess clock here, right? It's like speed chess. After 7 minutes, the red flag should fall, and then I will know I'm done. And I will talk actually about red flags and the time before they fell and after, namely communism in Soviet Union and Yugoslavia. I come from Yugoslavia, Croatia, and anyhow, there we didn't have many problems that the West had. We didn't have allergies, for example. That was an American thing. And we didn't have depression, why be depressed? You live in a perfect society, and if you don't like it, well, we will still lock you up in a psychiatric asylum, of course, because you're maladjusted, and that is an illness. Even in the West, it is an illness to be maladjusted. And anyhow, especially dissidents. Psychiatry in the Soviet Union was partly used to suppress dissidents. So if you wanted to leave the country, you acknowledged that you didn't get along, that you didn't fit, and so therapy was in order. So you would go into a lunatic asylum, and definitely after a while you would be crazy. Actually, I knew a man in Yugoslavia who was in a lunatic asylum and came out, and the anecdote I knew about him was that Yugoslavia used to be closed. Later it opened its borders, it opened them up. So when I was a kid, we no longer had this sense of enclosure and division between East and West, and despair to run away. But this man was caught when he was trying to leave Yugoslavia, and then he was treated in a mental institution. Though he was probably very sane. And then after that, he was insane. Yeah, anyhow, the issue of insanity there, it's a little bit philosophical. Many of you have read the R.D. Laing and his anti-psychiatry stuff. If you are in an insane society and you don't fit, are you really insane, or are you maybe trying to find the right way that other people have already given up on? Maybe you're saner than the ones who simply sail along the ship that is about to sink and it's on the wrong course. And same I would say even in relation to, now we had the wars in Yugoslavia and a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. Now it's called disorder, but I would prefer to call it a syndrome. Things that run together without the judgment of it being disorder. Because obviously war was a huge disorder, so if you suffer from a variety of things after it, I wouldn't say that is necessarily a disorder, but it is a syndrome. You're affected by things. And now, are you insane because you're affected, or are you more insane if you're not affected? I'm actually more worried about people who don't have post-traumatic stress syndrome in former Yugoslavia, who behave as though nothing had happened and we can just sail along and be happy and be a little desensitized. Of course, technically speaking, that is part of the stress syndrome, to be desensitized to events and actually not even to feel much. I visited a friend of mine. He's a Serbian exile from my hometown in Croatia. He lives in Belgrade, and we were sitting around, and he had two beautiful granddaughters and the little fish pond, and lots of doves. He raises doves, and he looked very grumpy, and he said, I know, I should be happy. Look at these beautiful children, but I feel nothing. He said, I feel nothing. And I said, wow. Then I asked him about his brother who killed himself and their mother who also killed herself. And I said, well, when she killed herself, that was a very traumatic event. I said, no, not as much as you think. He kind of shocked me that way. Because, well, I think that is part of the disorder, that you can be desensitized. So what to do? Well, who knows what to do, but at any rate, now when I go back to the former Yugoslavia, at least people acknowledge that we have depression. Before they didn't, nobody was depressed. except we had the high rate of suicide. Because we had untreated depression. Hungary was the highest. We were in the top as well. And I remember when I got to the States, I was really surprised because everybody smiled. And I thought, what's wrong with these people? Because a friend of mine, when he went from Croatia to Banja Luka, once smiled at a stranger, and a stranger broke his nose. Because he thought the smile was some kind of challenge and ridicule. Because people there were not used to smiling. And so I remember I got to the States and I was in college, and every morning a beautiful black woman would tell me, "You'll be all right." And I said, "Why is she telling me that?" But she explained that I really looked grumpy all the time. So she said, whatever it was, it would go away and I will eventually be okay. I guess I will become, well, and I did become Americanized. What I didn't know at that time was that Americans were depressed and they acknowledged it and they treated it. And so they were all stoned, you know. Now, we of course tried that too. We were all pretty much drunk, but that's different. You get more depressed after it. So now recently, what I want to say about this post-traumatic stress syndrome in post-communist societies, I like post, but let me say that there's a pre as well. And I would like to call it pre-traumatic stress syndrome. In Yugoslavia and so on, because things were falling apart. Tito died, and there was a great deal of tension. People were really anxious, and you could see things were not leading anywhere good. And it's happening again. I went to Bosnia. They burned down the part of the parliament and the presidential palace, and so on. And they have no hope because they don't have any jobs. Many of them with the post-traumatic stress syndrome actually can't even work. They're so rattled, they cannot concentrate. I know actually a man in Montreal who walks around all the time, and I finally said, well, why do you walk so much? That's really healthy, and you look good. And he said, yeah, I have the walking syndrome. So what do you mean walking syndrome? I said, well, I was in Sarajevo, I was trapped, they bombed. He used to be an opera singer, and then he said that after that, he can't work, he can't concentrate. The only thing he had to do is walk, which is kind of a good solution, but he walks like 10, 12 hours a day. So I ran into him all over the city, and anyhow, so he seems to be all right. He's not depressed. I think walking is really the best therapy for everything. In fact, in England now, you will not get prescription for antidepressants unless you prove that you walk half an hour a day. And only then, if you keep everything running, maybe your mind will be uplifted as well. So there's a good point there. Where's the red flag? Is it falling? So, but just to illustrate again, in Bosnia, I asked people, well, what is this protest about? I know your government is terrible and you want it down, but the next one, of course, also will be terrible. And you know that? He said, yeah, we know that. And but it's just an expression of total discontent. And the man said, this is about the Bosnian soul. It's not the details. So we just came here to express ourselves and basically to express the communal depression, communal post-traumatic and pre-traumatic stress syndrome, because obviously things are going in the wrong direction again. Okay, with those uplifting words.